Welcome to the deep dive. You know how this works. You send us the stuff you're really interested in, and we dive deep.
Absolutely. We unpack it all, really get to the heart of things.
Yeah. Today it's excerpts from Honor by Elif Shafak. It's a pretty complex story, lots of characters.
Multiple generations, even.
Right, so we're going to explore the lives of the Toprak family, their connections across time and continents even. See what we can uncover about identity, the pull of tradition, and how the choices they make impact everyone around them, even generations later.
Okay, so one thing that really jumps out right from the beginning is how Shafak puts us right into these very distinct worlds, but they're all connected in these subtle, sometimes hidden ways. Like we start in London, 1992, with a woman preparing halva.
Oh yeah, halva. It's like the sweet treat often made for special occasions, right? Or remembering loved ones.
Exactly. So there's this feeling of anticipation, because her husband's about to be released from prison. But there's also this underlying grief because she's thinking about her deceased mother. And then, like this seemingly small moment, her twin daughters ask about a Harry.
And that triggers this like really painful unspoken memory.
Yeah, you can just feel that there's something significant there that we're not privy to yet.
Right, exactly. And then boom, we're transported both in time and place. We find ourselves in this village, Malasar Bayan. It means the House of Four Winds.
I love those little details, those names that just kind of evoke a whole atmosphere.
Yeah, it's 1962. We see Nays in the middle of this really difficult childbirth. She's having her second daughter. And get this, she actually tried to leave, like get away. But those contractions, they just pulled her back.
Wow, she must have been desperate.
Yeah, and after the birth, she makes this vow of silence. And the village elders, their reaction to that, wow, it really shows you how tightly woven this community is. Even choosing not to speak is a huge deal. Because it goes against the norms, right? It's almost like an act of defiance in that context.
Totally. And then we meet Pembe and her father,
Yeah.
Durzo, in that same village. They have to go to Urfa because their dog bit Pembe.
Ah, so that's why they're traveling.
Right. And on this trip, we learned so much about Durzo. He's strong, broad-boned, a peasant, kind, but he can have a temper. And he's got 8 daughters.
8 daughters. Wow.
But no son. And you can tell it really saddens him. It's like this weight of tradition. He's expected to have a son, a male heir.
And Pembe, even at this point, she's thinking about her daughters' futures.
Yeah, she's questioning whether education will even matter for them. She's already envisioning them like trapped in unhappy marriages, potentially. It's heavy stuff.
And then there's this scene where she's at the hospital with your father, and she finds it so sterile, unsettling. This bright white hospital.
It's such a stark contrast to their life in the village.
Yeah.
Almost like a symbol of this completely different world, this pull towards modernity that her daughters might experience.
Right, like a glimpse into a possible future.
And I think that experience in the hospital kind of makes that connection between Pembe and her twin sister Jamila even stronger, more significant.
Because remember, they both cry out at the exact same moment during an injection, even though they're miles apart.
It's like they're one soul, two bodies. There's that saying, right, about twins. They're connected on this like primal level.
Then we have Nays' final childbirth, same year, 1962. It's just tragic. The midwife makes this difficult choice.
Yeah, there's nothing she can do. And right before Nays dies, she cries out, "No, you whore." It's just raw emotion, so powerful.
And then her 9th child, another girl, she also dies shortly after. It casts this shadow over everything, like this sense of hardship, loss, that just seems to permeate the community.
It does, absolutely. Then jump forward a few years, November 1962. We see Pembe, she's only 17.
17, wow.
And she's breastfeeding her son. And she's already thinking about how her own mother never had any sons. It's like this weight, this expectation is being passed down directly through the generations.
And then, after the birth, Pembe is clearly scared of their late mother.
Yeah, haunted by her, really.
And Jamila steps in. She starts doing all these, superstitious rituals.
Ward off the bad spirits, right?
Yeah.
To protect Pembe. It shows you how close they are and also how deeply rooted they are in these traditional beliefs.
It's like those beliefs offer them comfort, a way to deal with their grief and anxiety, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, when they need a name for Pembe's son, they go to this old woman, and, well, her prediction is pretty unsettling.
Oh, yeah. She says, some children are like the Euphrates, so fast, so rowdy, their parents cannot catch up with them.
I'm afraid your son will break your heart to pieces. Like, it's a prophecy almost, right?
It definitely adds to the sense of foreboding surrounding this child. What's his name, by the way?
Well, they're considering Selim, like the poet and musician sultan.
Oh, I see. So maybe a free spirit, an artist.
Yeah, or Iskender.
And we actually get to see Iskender as a young boy during his circumcision. He's dressed as a prince, but he's so anxious.
Totally different from the other boys, who are all just being silly.
And Pembe, she's so proud, you can tell. She's crying, but they're happy tears.
Yeah, it's touching. And remember that scene where he climbs that tree and refuses to come down until Pembe makes him a promise?
Promise, my sultan. Yeah, it was a very specific phrasing.
It really shows you how much he needs her reassurance, that vulnerability. Maybe it ties into his need for her unwavering support later in life.
And speaking of strong women, there's Jamila. She's known as Kiz-Eve, the virgin midwife. Her reputation, it goes way beyond their village.
Yeah, she's known throughout the entire Kurdish region. And for her, midwifery, it's not just a job. It's like a calling, a mission.
And the fact that she chooses not to marry, it's presented as her being married to her destiny.
Right. Like it's her choice. She's dedicated to her work.
Yeah.
Very independent.
Okay, then we jump to London, where we meet Adam and Roxana. Right away, you get this sense of tension. Adam's in deep because of gambling debts.
Fear of a cornered animal. That's how it's described. He's trapped, can't leave London because of his family, and of course, Roxana.
And they're very different people, aren't they?
Oh yeah, very different. Like, they have these totally opposing views on gambling and drinking.
Makes sense, especially considering Adam's father and his struggles with alcohol.
Right, right. And it's not just them. London itself is going through a lot. There are power cuts, strikes.
Yeah, so there's this underlying sense of instability in the city itself.
Reflecting Adam's own internal turmoil, maybe? And remember that moment when Adam almost asks Roxana about his first wife, Aisha?
But he stops himself.
And then he loses the gambling, big time. And he tries to rationalize it. Says it's for a noble cause.
He wants to help Tariq, Ray, and others.
Yeah, but it's like he's unable to break free from these destructive patterns. Then we get Iskender's point of view in London. He gets home early, and there's something off about his mother, Pembe.
She's acting strange. It creates this immediate sense of unease, like something's about to happen.
And then he starts putting the pieces together. He realizes Uncle Tariq has told him something about his mother. We don't know exactly what it is, but
It's enough to make him buy a flick knife. He says he just wants to scare someone, but still.
it's a sign things are escalating.
Hmm.
And then, bam, flashback to Adam's childhood. Istanbul, 1954. And he's got these two babas, one sober, one drunk.
And they both exist in the same body. That's such a powerful way to describe the effects of addiction on a family.
Really vivid. And then those memories, those family picnics near the Bosporus. But right next to a cemetery, Aisha's praying for the deceased.
It's like this mix of joy and sadness, life and death, all kind of intertwined.
It is. And Baba, the sober one, he's singing all these sad songs, but in a cheerful way. And then he opens his first bottle of Rocky.
It's almost like foreshadowing. There's this happy moment, but you can sense the darkness lurking beneath it.
Okay, back to London. We learn a little bit about Roxana. She used to be a dancer.
She even tells a story about a conservative MP.
Yeah, and she puts on this really strong Russian accent, even though she says she's not actually from Russia.
It's like she's created this whole persona maybe to protect herself, to fit in somehow.
Maybe. Then we meet Yunus, the third sibling. He's a total contrast to Iskender and Esma.
Yeah, he's the quiet one, the dreamer, the philosopher. He seems pretty comfortable with who he is.
Exactly. And then there's the whole squat scene in Hackney.
Oh, yeah, the squat. That's a whole different world, this whole community of, like, artists and activists all living together.
It's fascinating. And Yunus meets Topeko there. They have all these deep conversations about unemployment, false consciousness, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, Eunice is definitely intellectually curious, but he's also conflicted, right?
Totally. He's attracted to this alternative lifestyle, but he also sees the flaws in the system, the inequalities.
And the squad itself, it's pretty rough. They're constantly threatened with eviction.
It's definitely precarious.
Yeah.
But Yunus, he sees the good in everyone there. Like, he wants to help Tobiko give her a better life.
Yeah, he even talks about wanting to help the captain and all the others.
It's sweet, but also a little naive, maybe?
Maybe. And then there's that whole thing with the captain where Eunice is clearly developing feelings for Tobiko.
Oh, yeah, and she's like 10 years older than him.
And she kisses him, but then she says he's too young.
And his response, I will be in 10 years.
He's so earnest, so sincere.
It's sweet. Okay, then we get a little snippet of Pembe again.
Remembering their life in London, the diverse neighborhood.
And that game they used to play, looking at people's feet in Istanbul.
I loved that detail. It's like this small, sweet memory of their family life.
It is. Okay, now we're following Adam again. He's going back to his father's village after visiting his brother Khalil.
And he forgets to give Khalil the baklava. Kismet, he says.
Like it was fate, right? A small detail, but maybe it means something more.
And when he gets to the village, he meets the mutar, the headman.
Yeah, and his postcard, the one he sent, it went unanswered.
That's a little strange.
It is. And Adam, he wasn't even planning on staying long. But then he gets invited to a wedding.
Even though he only intended to stay for one night.
Right. And weddings, they always make him sad. It brings back memories of his mother, Aisha, the one whose name has been erased.
Yeah, because she ran away. It's like she never existed.
It's really sad. Adam's just walking around the village, observing everything. There are all these stray dogs.
He even has a brief encounter with a woman at the well.
Yeah, just a small moment. And then he sees the bride.
Being led to her new home, pulled by a young boy. It's like ensuring she'll bear sons.
Yeah, the pressure to continue the lineage. And then the Mutar, he starts talking about potential brides for Adam.
He mentions how the family's reputation is damaged because Aisha ran away. And Adam, he's surprised, right?
He didn't know the headman knew about that. It shows you how deeply this concept of honor runs in their community and how long those shadows can last.
Okay, now we jump to Jamila. She's in her hut near the Euphrates River. It's December 1977, and it's cold, musty.
She's by the fireplace, holding a letter that she's read over and over again. And she looks old, much older than her 32 years.
It's like she's carrying a heavy burden.
Definitely. And the letter, it's from Pembe. And Pembe's talking about how she wishes things could go back to how they were when they were kids.
Like simpler times, before all the complications of adult life.
Exactly. And she even says she wishes Adam had a magic eraser.
Probably talking about their marriage, wishing she could erase it.
Probably. And she asks Jamila, "You must be upset at me, are you?"
Like she knows she's caused her sister pain, and then she talks about their other sister, Hedai, the one who ran away.
Pembe's been making hava for her soul, even though their neighbors in London don't understand the custom. It's like she's grieving in her own way.
It's like she's trying to hold on to her traditions, her roots.
Yeah. And then Jamila, she hears a noise outside, but she's not sure if it's real or not. It shows you how isolated she is, almost paranoid.
And she remembers something Adam said years ago about different kinds of love.
Some are like the brightest stars, he said. Others, like the Milky Way, full of their ancestors.
It's beautifully poetic. And then she asks Adam about our love.
Which totally catches him off guard. He's like, whoa, this is moving too fast.
Because there was no real courtship, right? It was all so sudden.
Exactly. And then Jamila, she has to help a bandit who's been shot. His wife has just given birth to conjoined twins.
Oh, wow. That's a difficult situation.
It is. One of the twins dies, and Jamila has to comfort the bandit. She tells him his surviving daughter is special, that she needs his love.
Jamila is so compassionate, even towards people who might seem undeserving.
She really is. And then, when she finishes the letter to Pembe, she mentions the twins and asks this big question about why there's so much suffering in the world.
She's always searching for deeper meaning. And then Adam arrives at her hut.
He's there to ask her to marry him.
Yeah.
But her father refuses. Says only their late mother could call her enough.
Wow, so even in death, the mother's authority is still there.
Powerful stuff. But then the headman steps in. He vouches for Adam.
Yeah, he says Adam's honest comes from a good family.
Despite the shame they've recently faced. And that seems to persuade Jamila's father.
Okay, then we briefly touch on Iskender. He's got these conflicting feelings about his sister Esma.
And then he learns about a secret she kept hidden until 1978.
It's like another piece of the puzzle, another layer of family secret.
Exactly. And then there's Trippy in prison. He has a visit from his wife, and then she leaves him.
And he completely loses it, starts punching the wall.
It's like he's in denial. Then all that bottled up emotion just explodes.
And then out of nowhere, he starts talking about Houdini dying from a ruptured appendix.
Random, right. Maybe it's just stress or...
Okay, so then Esma has this encounter with Officer McLaughlin. He's found a postcard from Trippy addressed to Alex.
Yeah, and Esma refuses to explain why she made Trippy hit Alex.
It's a little mysterious, but it suggests that she's trying to protect someone.
Yeah, maybe. Adam, meanwhile, is just sad. He keeps reliving those same old memories.
It's like he's stuck in the past. But Pembe, she has this quiet hope.
Yeah, she finds solace in prayer, in the belief that time will heal.
She's a survivor. And then there's that scene at the bakery where Pembe runs into all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, she has this really rude encounter with the assistant. And there are all these misunderstandings about the words fluff and rock
It
cakes.
shows you how hard it can be to navigate a new culture, a new language.
Definitely. But then she meets Elias.
At the bakery.
Yeah. And it all starts with a conversation about rice pudding.
Of course it does.
Yeah. Pembe couldn't find hazelnuts, so she used almonds instead. And Elias, well, he's surprisingly interested in cooking.
Okay, that's not what I expected.
And then Pembe hesitates when Elias asks her if she's Kurdish.
It's like she's not sure how to identify herself, where she belongs.
Yeah, it's complicated. But then Elias, he says, your name is poetry.
Oh.
It's like a turning point in their interaction. They start to connect on a deeper level. They share some eclairs and fruit loaf.
And their conversation, it goes from racism to rice pudding somehow.
They're finding common ground, despite all their differences. And then Pembe watches Elias cooking courgettes.
Courgettes. That's interesting.
Yeah, she's amused at first, then she gets quiet. She starts thinking about how she raised her sons, how she didn't really teach them to do much in the kitchen.
It's like she's realizing something about her own traditions.
Yeah, maybe. And then Elias drops a bombshell. He's separated from his wife.
Things are getting even more complicated.
Okay. Meanwhile, back at the squat, Eunice tries hashish.
Oh, boy.
Tabiko stops him, though. She tells him he's speckle, that he doesn't need to try and fit in.
It's a sweet moment, really. And then Eunice wants to give her a present.
He's clearly smitten.
Definitely. And then he has this conversation with the other squatters about a man they all respect.
He asks if this guy is Turkish, and the captain, he's like, people like you means the have-nots.
It's a blunt but accurate lesson about social class. And then, well, Eunice gets strong.
Yeah, they have to carry him home.
Okay, now we meet Katie Evans.
She's got a crush on Iskender, even though she thinks he's an arsehole.
Yeah, typical teenage drama.
And they decide to go on a date.
We also learn about Iskender's routine. He helps his mother on Sundays, and he goes to boxing practice.
It's like he's got this sense of duty, but he also needs that outlet for aggression.
Right. So the date, they get milkshakes and cokes, they talk about school, seems pretty normal.
Yeah, but then Iskender has this sudden mood swing.
Yeah.
He asks Katie, what are you doing here with me?
Like, he's not sure why she's with him. Maybe he's insecure.
Maybe. Then we jump back in time again. Early 70s London. Elias and his wife, they tried to open a restaurant.
What kind of restaurant?
They wanted to serve English food, but it was tough. The
It
customers didn't really go for it.
didn't really take off. And their marriage falls apart, too.
Yeah, they get divorced.
Yeah.
Elias ends up with a cat, some photo albums, and a lot of bitterness.
Sad. But meanwhile, his relationship with Pembe is developing,
He thanks her for helping him out previously.
and she returns the sentiment. It's sweet.
And then there's this almost handshake, followed by a kiss on the cheek.
Things are definitely heating up.
Yeah. Okay, Shrewsbury Prison, 1991. Iskender is waiting to see his father, Adam.
And he's annoyed because some new guy is filing a complaint. It shows you how prison has changed him.
Pardoned him.
Then we get Pembe's perspective on language. She doesn't trust English words, Turkish words, even Kurdish words.
She prefers songs, lullabies, recipes, prayers, things that are more intuitive, I guess.
She feels like words can be deceiving, that they can be used to manipulate.
Yeah, she's seen that firsthand. And Iskender, he's got a lot to say about racism in England.
He says it's not always overt, it's more subtle, about perceived civilization.
Interesting take. And he's formed his own gang in prison with strict rules.
It's like he's creating order in this chaotic environment.
Control. Maybe that's what he needs.
Okay, now we see Adam and Roxana again. Their relationship is a mess. Roxana's bitter, makes these cutting remarks.
Adam feels like he's just a temporary lover to her. It's clear there's no real connection.
And Roxana, she notices Adam's shaved off his mustache.
Yeah, and she has this sudden, unexpected wish that things were different.
It's a fleeting moment of vulnerability, maybe even regret.
Maybe. January 1978, London. Elias visits Meryl's shop.
Meryl, that's Pembe's friend, right?
Yeah, and he asks about Pembe specifically. Clearly still thinking about her.
And then we have Tariq's friends trying to get him to look at pussies.
Tariq's not interested, though. He's got his own problems to deal with.
And Meryl, she watches him eating at the shop. She's worried about Pembe needing money.
But Tariq's got his mind on his business. He even has this flashback to a film about a gangster who gets betrayed by his brother.
It's like foreshadowing, maybe?
Yeah, potentially. And we learn about how deeply shamed Tariq, Khalil, and Adam were when their mother ran away.
Because it was a huge blow to their honor, right?
Yeah.
Especially since they didn't have much else.
Exactly. The English, they don't really understand these ancient rules, he says.
Different cultures, different values.
Totally. Okay, Elias and Pembe, they go to the cinema again, and this time they hold hands.
In the dark. Romantic.
Elias is nervous, but Pembe, she's accepting. And Elias, he writes down the details for another cinema date.
He's smitten.
Definitely. And he's got this growing need to love and protect Pembe.
It's like he sees her as this fragile, precious thing.
Yeah. And for him, it's also a connection to his past, to his Eastern roots.
Even though the relationship is considered wrong, illicit.
Back to Iskender. There's a commotion in his cell block.
What happens?
Officer McLaughlin finds a syringe and a note. Trippy's stuff.
And Iskender eats the note.
Yeah, he swallows it whole. And then he gets into it with Officer McLaughlin.
There's a fight. Iskender gets punched.
But later, he reflects on how he used to be a bully himself. It's like a moment of self-awareness, recognizing his own flaws.
Interesting. Meanwhile, Eunice overhears some of the squatters talking about fighting back against the authorities.
They're even making Molotov cocktails. They call it their Paris Commune.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. And Eunice is worried about his mother finding out.
He doesn't want to disappoint her. But he's also torn, right?
He wants to leave, but he's in love with Tobiko.
It's a tough situation.
Okay, now we learn about Jamila's knowledge of precious stones.
Precious stones.
She uses them in her potions. She believes they have energy. And there's this special diamond, the amber concubine.
It's described as being as amber as honey. Beautiful.
And she says it's transient, never truly possessed. It's like a metaphor for life itself, maybe.
Maybe. And Jamila, she has to help this wounded smuggler. He's been shot.
Yeah, and she knows how to care for bullet wounds. She even says bullets pass their soul into bodies.
That's a really poetic way of putting it.
She doesn't get much sleep, though. She's worried about him.
She's a natural caregiver. And the smuggler, he wakes up eventually.
Yeah, but he's feverish, demanding.
Yeah.
Jamila starts questioning his character.
She's not naive. And she hides him in the cellar.
Under a trapdoor, hidden by a carpet. But the smuggler, he sees the trapdoor. Yeah, this is not going to end well. Okay, London, April 1978. We see Esma sneaking off to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
What's she doing?
She's looking at her reflection in the mirror, and she wishes she was a boy.
She even draws a mustache on her reflection.
It's heartbreaking. She feels like she doesn't fit in, like she's the odd one out in her family.
And her relationship with her mother, it's changed since she hit puberty.
Her mother's obsessed with Esma's virginity, warns her constantly about boys.
But she doesn't do that with Iskender. Double standard.
Definitely. Esma even says she wishes humans were like snails, hermaphrodites.
It shows you how much she's questioning gender roles, societal expectations.
Okay, back to Jamila. She's taking care of the smuggler, who's still feverish. She's using onions to draw out the fever.
Old wives' tale.
Maybe, but it seems to be working. And she's praying, too.
She blends traditional medicine with her faith.
Yeah. And then she has this really disturbing dream.
What kind of dream?
She sees a city on fire, and she gives birth to a baby girl.
Another girl.
And she names her Pembe, after her deceased twin sister. It feels symbolic, right?
Definitely. Like a premonition.
Maybe. The smuggler, he wakes up again. He's rude, demanding, doesn't even like the tea Jamila makes him.
Pickle.
He sees Jamila rolling a cigarette, notices her rough hands, and then he says she needs a man to protect her.
Condescending much.
Yeah, and Jamila shuts him down. She says there's a difference between being alone and being married but alone.
Sure that.
And the smuggler, he just comes out and proposes.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel genuine. It feels like he just wants to control her.
Is probably just using her. And then he demands to see what she owns.
He's especially interested in the cellar. Jamila hesitates, and he threatens her.
Things are escalating.
He starts searching her hut, acting all entitled. And Jamila, she's scared for her diamond, the amber concubine.
She tries to get him to go upstairs, but he won't budge.
And then he makes a move on her. Comments on her being a virgin.
That's awful.
Jamila, she's trapped. She starts crying, realizes how limited her options are.
And then she hears noises outside. Men, horses, dogs. She thinks it's the smuggler coming back with his friends.
She can't find her rifle, so she grabs a dagger. But her hands are shaking too much.
She's terrified. And she decides to face whatever's coming.
It's a moment of incredible courage. Okay, back to Iskender in prison.
What's going on there?
It's morning, the usual routine, and there's tension between Iskender and Officer McLaughlin. They both still resent each other from their last encounter.
McLaughlin is still wearing a bandage.
Yeah, and he gives Iskender a warning, like a threat almost.
Okay, then we have Iskender and Zishan, his fellow inmate.
Zishan is a bit of a character. He was born in Brunei, but he says he was second time born in the whole world.
Iskender thinks he's a god botherer or something.
Yeah, but Zishan has this interesting philosophy. He believes that the entire universe is contained in one person.
And that person is you.
Exactly. But Iskender, he's cynical. He sees the universe as all aggression, brutality, corruption, terrorism, murder.
He's seen the worst of humanity, both inside and outside prison.
And then Zishan drops a bombshell. He tells Iskender he killed his own mother.
He even has a newspaper clipping.
Iskender remembers feeling numb during the trial. He saw Esma and Eunice there, their faces.
It must have been surreal watching his own brother being judged for murder.
He had a panic attack later.
And the psychiatrist, he wasn't much help, was he?
No, he was horrible, according to Iskender. Those first few nights in prison, Iskender couldn't sleep. He wondered if he was going crazy.
It's understandable. He's been through so much.
And then he starts to feel his mother's presence.
But she's not angry or upset. It's more like she's just there.
Peaceful, maybe.
Maybe. Okay.